Obandes. She photographed the figures between the bamboo all afternoon. When she reviewed the images, they were in none of them. But in the background of every photograph, in the spaces she hadn't been photographing, something was visible, close, consistently positioned just beyond where her camera had been pointing, as though it had been following her angle of attention all afternoon, staying precisely where she was not looking. Don't photograph anything in any forest tonight that moves too slowly for animals and too deliberately for people. It is time for chapter 174. Bamboo forests have a particular visual quality that other forests do not. The density of the stalks. The way they filter light into specific qualities at specific hours. The sound they make in wind, a hollow resonant sound quite unlike the movement of leafed branches, and the particular corridors of shadow they create. Long, narrow, converging at distances that the eye cannot quite resolve. Most of what moves in bamboo forests is wind and the forest's own adjustment to it. But the corridors of shadow have a quality that invites attention. That makes the eye search the depth of them for what might be moving there. And occasionally something is. That would rather stay in the space just outside where you are looking. A woman photographer had gone to a bamboo forest to work in the particular quality of late afternoon light it produced. She had photographed there before and knew the space, the main paths, the areas of dense growth, the clearings where the light gathered differently. She arrived in the mid-afternoon and began working. The forest had its usual quality, the hollow resonance of the stalks in the light wind, the particular corridors of shadow between them. She had been working for perhaps an hour when she first noticed the figures, at a distance between the stalks, moving slowly, slowly enough to register as deliberate movement rather than the forest's own adjustment to wind. She stopped, looked carefully. Too tall for animals, too still for people passing through. She raised her camera. She photographed in the direction of the figures for perhaps 20 minutes. They did not approach, did not recede, simply maintained their position between the bamboo stalks at the same distance, moving occasionally with the slow deliberateness she had first noticed. She could not resolve them clearly enough to identify what she was looking at. The bamboo between her and them was too dense, the light at that angle too filtered. She moved to a better position. They adjusted, not dramatically, simply maintaining the same distance and the same degree of obscurity as she repositioned. When she moved, they moved, not toward her, simply maintaining the relationship. She photographed continuously. If these stories have found their way to you, if you find yourself returning to this quiet room, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. It tells me, and whatever else watches from this room, that you were here and that you intend to find your way back. If you have a story of your own, Granny is always listening, watching, waiting. The figures were in none of the photographs. She reviewed them that evening, all the images from the afternoon, including the 20 minutes she had spent deliberately photographing in the direction of the figures. The bamboo was there. The light was there. The particular corridors of shadow were there. The figures were not. She went through each image carefully, enlarged the relevant sections, found nothing that corresponded to what she had seen. She was certain she had seen something, had tracked it across 20 minutes of deliberate photography. The photographs contained no evidence of it. She was about to close the review when she noticed something in the background of one image, something that had not been the subject of the photograph. In the spaces between the bamboo behind where she had been pointing her camera, she looked at the next image, the background again, the same spaces, something there also. Shakkoi, the screen in front of her. Cold in the way of understanding that what she had been photographing had not been what was photographing her. I wondered if something had been staying precisely where you were not looking all afternoon, how long before you noticed? And what would you do with the photographs that showed it was there? If you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening. She went through every image from the afternoon. In each one, in the background, in the spaces between the bamboo she had not been photographing, something was visible, consistent across all the images, positioned just beyond where her camera had been pointing at the moment each photograph was taken, as though it had known precisely where her attention was directed at every moment of the afternoon, and had stayed just outside that attention, consistently, precisely, for several hours. She looked at the images in sequence, the something in the background moving as she had moved through the forest, maintaining its position relative to her angle of attention with an accuracy that required either extraordinary coincidence or deliberate awareness of exactly where she was looking. Izui, the sequence of images, uncomfortable in the specific way of evidence that points clearly to a conclusion you did not want to reach. You are still here. Good. Some stories need a witness all the way to the end. I wonder if something had been staying just outside your field of attention all day. What do you think it was doing there? She did not return to the bamboo forest. This decision she described not as fear exactly, more as the particular respect one develops for a space that has demonstrated it understands the rules of attention better than you do. She has shown the photographs to others, to people whose professional judgment she trusts. None have been able to identify what appears in the backgrounds. None have been able to explain how something could have maintained such consistent positioning relative to her camera angle across an entire afternoon without her direct awareness. She keeps the photographs, reviews them occasionally, each time finding the same thing in the same positions across the sequence of images. Whatever spent the afternoon staying just outside her attention has left a very thorough record of having done so, in every photograph she took, of something else. Nda. Some things are most visible in the spaces we are not looking at. I have found this to be consistently true. From where I sit, watching the corners of rooms, she did not return to the bamboo forest. This decision she described not as fear exactly, more as the particular respect one develops for a space that has demonstrated it understands the rules of attention better than you do. She has shown the photographs to others, to people whose professional judgment she trusts. None have been able to identify what appears in the backgrounds. None have been able to explain how something could have maintained such consistent positioning relative to her camera angle across an entire afternoon without her direct awareness. She keeps the photographs, reviews them occasionally, each time finding the same thing in the same positions across the sequence of images. Whatever spent the afternoon staying just outside her attention has left a very thorough record of having done so, in every photograph she took, of something else. Nda. Some things are most visible in the spaces we are not looking at. I have found this to be consistently true. From where I sit, watching the corners of rooms. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. If you photograph in a bamboo forest and you notice figures moving between the stalks, tall, slow, deliberate, photograph them. Spend as much time as you need. Move to better positions. They will adjust to maintain their distance and their obscurity. And when you review the images that evening and find nothing in the directions you were pointing your camera, look at the backgrounds. Look at the spaces between the bamboo you were not photographing. Because something that understood precisely where your attention was directed all afternoon has left a record of where it was standing, in every image, in the background, just outside where you were looking, consistent, precise, deliberate. Whatever it was doing in the bamboo forest, whatever it was there for, it was aware of you, of your camera, of your angle of attention at every moment, and stayed just outside it all afternoon, with a patience that suggests it has been doing this for considerably longer than your visit. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting. And if you wish others to find their way here too, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. I would not object. And if you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening.